Welcome back. There was a lot of goal scoring that went on in a couple of games tonight, and we'll start with the one that looked like it wasn't going to have any goal scoring, and then all of a sudden all the goal scoring showed up, and then we'll go through a few more, and then we'll get to the one where a lot more goal scoring takes place, and that's on the second board. So these always go in chronological order. I don't change the way I do them. So certain teams will always be near the back of this, which is why you have the timestamps underneath the chapters and all that stuff. So let's start off with Boston and Philly. Now, Boston came into this game with 0 goals, scored 5 on 5. That is no longer the case. They've scored 5 on 5. Hallelujah. Can I get an amen? No, everybody hates Boston? Forgot. So, early Bruins shot was saved by Hart. Giroux takes a penalty. The Bruins go to the power play. The shots were 5-1 Bruins at 6 minutes. Now, the funny thing is, when the Bruins are way ahead in shots, I assume they're going to allow the first goal. This is just the way it works. I'm like, oh, look, they've got all the shots. This is a shame we're going to lose the game. Corrali takes a penalty. The Flyers get a power play. Pretty effective penalty kill by the Bruins in that one. Giroux had a chance to miss. There was a tipped Bergeron shot that was stopped by Carter Hart. And then a late Flyers penalty. The Bruins go to the power play. And it wasn't effective at the end of the first period. So we come out of the first period, no score. So that's 10 regulation periods, no 5-on-5 goals for Boston. And it gets worse for them in the second period. The Bruins had chances 2 minutes in. Krejci then with a high stick. The Flyers go to the power play. And it was another effective Bruins penalty kill until. Crossbar for Voracek. And then Giroux gets the first goal of the game from Provorov at 6:17, and yeah, I forgot the X on Giroux. It happens when I'm writing all this down, especially when there's multiple games going on. No big deal. You guys know who I mean by Giroux. It's not like the X does anything. It's useless, that X. I cast ye out. All right, so I can't. I have a jersey with Giroux on it, so I better not. The Flyers get another power play. Friedman got hurt on a tussle with Marchand, and I thought, okay, so people are going to want Marchand suspended, but I don't think there's anything there. But he left the game. Grzelcyk then got hurt. He was on one leg to the bench. He would stay in the game, but he was hobbled on that. Bruins take a penalty, and Flyers power plays are plenty in that period, it seems. Van Riemsdyk then scores from Voracek at 17:31, which was right after that power play ended. So it's one of those ones, I've talked about this last season too, that's after the power play expires, but it's still basically a power play goal. The guy who jumps on the ice, not a part of the play yet, still 5-on-4. So we go to the third period. First minute of the third period, Jack Studnicka with his first NHL goal saying, enough of this garbage. I'm not waiting around. I'm going to get myself a goal. And it's his first NHL goal from Krejci and Ritchie. Nick Ritchie had a good game tonight. I will admit, I'll give credit where it's due. Nick Ritchie probably played his best game as a Bruin tonight. And then at 2:06, Coyle scores from Smith, and wow, a minute and 9 seconds, and the Bruins have tied the game. 2 5-on-5 goals, just like that. But it doesn't last. Sanheim scores from Voracek and Patrick at 7:13. The Flyers then had a 2-on-1 right after the goal, and it's one of those, can they lock it down? That's what I kept thinking in my mind here. Marchand was in close. He didn't end up getting a goal there. The Bruins then get a power play, and they score on it. And who gets it? Nick Ritchie. Like I said, best game as a Bruin tonight. From Bergeron and Krejci at 13:22. Beautiful goal. And then less than 2 minutes later, it's Brandon Carlo from Grzelcyk and Marchand. So like I said, Grzelcyk stayed in the game. And at 15:18, the Bruins have a lead. All you've got to do is... Never mind. There's a Flyers power play basically right after that goal goes in. And then it's a power play marker from Van Riemsdyk, who's doing well on the power plays. Voracek and Hayes with the assists at 16:28. And so it's a tie game again. Ritchie then had an open net that he missed. It was him and then Krejci. So Ritchie probably should have put that one in, and then Krejci just misses it. It gets cleared out. So you go to overtime, and there were highlight reel saves by the bushelful for Tuukka Rask. As Boston couldn't get a shot on Carter Hart, they had opportunities, just couldn't get a shot on the net. I don't know what else to say other than we go to a shootout. And in the shootout, your winner, Jake DeBrusk. So the Boston Bruins escape with a shootout victory, 5-4. The losses in overtime from last year, it doesn't look like they're going to have the same problem this year. Both of their wins this year are via shootout. So it's different than last year. They're 2-1-1 now. The Philadelphia Flyers are 3-1-1. The shots were 14-3 Boston in the first, 8-4 in favor of Philly in the second, and then they were 22-10 in the third for Boston. So it's like the second they go, we'll just take the period off. Oh, we allowed a couple of goals. We better go out and get that back. And then in overtime, they didn't bother. Philadelphia gets all 5 shots. Final shots 40-26 in favor of Boston. The power plays, Philadelphia 2 for 5. Boston 1 for 3. Carter Hart, 35 saves on 39 shots. Tuukka Rask, 22 saves on 26 shots. And for Boston, they escape with the victory. Let's see if they can win one in regulation. Now that they've got goals 5-on-5, you work your way up, and maybe you can get goals in regulation next. No hurry, though. None. You're just, 4 games into the season, and no hurry. New Jersey. So the Devils in against the New York Islanders, and the Devils are off to a good start. But tonight, they ran into an Islanders team that just wasn't having it. This was an Islanders team that, early on it's a 2-on-1. Beauvillier gets denied. And then at 4:43, it's Barzal from Bailey and Dobson. So Noah Dobson on the board. And the Islanders were dominant. The shots were 11-2, 12 minutes into this game in their favor. So the Islanders were just laying down the law. And it's their home rink. Hughes was then generating chances. I thought Jack Hughes had a decent game in that first period anyways in terms of starting to change the momentum. The Islanders pressed with 3 minutes left. Brock Nelson then hits the post. Last minute chances for the Devils, but then it goes the other way. So the Devils are generating opportunities. It goes the other way, and it's Eberle from Leon Barzal at 19 minutes and 37 seconds. Nice fast break goal. Beautiful passing from Barzal to lead Eberle. These guys have great chemistry. It's 2-0 at the end of the first in favor of the Islanders. But early in the second, it's Bastian getting a goal from Smith at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And that ends the shutout streak of Semyon Varlamov at 142 minutes and 10 seconds to start the season. But that's all they get. Varlamov had another excellent game. This is his third straight excellent game for the Islanders. He's making the argument he should play almost every game. Power play then for the Devils. There was a shorthanded 2-on-1 for the Islanders. Wedgwood made the save. Power play then for the Islanders. Nelson had a chance that was blocked. Nelson got hurt. His visor cut his nose. It was ugly. There was blood everywhere. But the nice thing was that it was Subban he collided with. Subban let the referee know and brought him over to the bench. And Nelson did stay in the game. As much as there was bleeding and they had to go clean up the ice, he stayed in the game. So third period, Mayfield would hit the post for the Islanders. The Islanders get a power play and they score on it. It's Eberle from Dobson and Barzal at 1 minute and 56 seconds. So Noah Dobson with 2 helpers tonight. The Islanders then go back on the power play and they score again. And it's Nelson, who got his face broken at the end of the second period, fixes it in between periods, comes back and plays in the third, gets the goal from Leddy and Pajot at 5:16. And the Islanders then were just locking it down for the win. And there was talk about, the kind of defense that they can play with the lead. And they played it well. They allowed shots, but it didn't feel like there was anything that was going to cause this result to change. They hold on. They win it 4-1. Good game. Shots were 14-6 in favor of the Islanders in the first, 13-9 New Jersey in the second, 12-11 New Jersey in the third. Final shots 35-31 in favor of the Islanders. Power plays, New Jersey goes 0 for 1. The Islanders went 2 for 3, so they didn't get a lot of opportunities, but they capitalized on the ones they got. Wedgwood saved 31 out of 35. I thought he was good. And Varlamov saves 30 out of 31. If you're going to make the argument that he's not as good as Blackwood, well, there are very few goaltenders that are. At least his last name has Wood in it as well. So right there, they have to be together because they're both Wood, right? I don't know if that means they're related. I do know it means they're not related. Please don't leave a comment down below about that. I know. I shouldn't have said it. I really shouldn't have. All right. Tampa Bay. So the big storyline coming out of this is not Tampa Bay's result. It's that Dubois gets benched for the second and third and in the overtime, and Tortorella doesn't want to answer questions about it. Now, here's the thing. If I'm Jarmo Kekalainen and I've just signed this guy for 2 years, $5 million per, I may not be happy to see him stapled to the bench. You can bench a guy for a while during a game, but when you're in a game like this where you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, when you look at where you are in the standings, and you're against the best team in the league, arguably the best team in the league. Once we get to the power rankings on Saturday, we can start having that argument, right? But you kind of need your best center And Dubois is their best center. And I understand that things aren't going great with Dubois right now, but he's still their best center. First period, early. Hedman coughs it up to Domi, who passes it to Bjorkstrand 21 seconds in. It's a 1-0 lead. 3 minutes into the game, the shots were 2-2. Korpisalo looked sharp against Tampa. So I put, yep, checks out. Because that's kind of what Korpisalo's known for, thanks to the playoffs in 2020. Hedman defended a chance by Atkinson. Gaudreau had a chance that was then denied. And Vasi stopped a pretty good chance for Bjorkstrand. So some good back and forth in that period, pretty evenly played. But Columbus is up 1-0 on the strength of that goal in the first 21 seconds. So second period, Korpisalo was having a playoff game in this one. He was stopping everything. And I started thinking, okay, so this might be one of those games where Korpisalo saves 35 and they win it because Korpisalo steals it. Power play for the Blue Jackets. Their power play was 0 for 7 on the season coming into tonight. That would not last, but they didn't score on this one, so it would go 0 for 8. Vasi stopped a Domi shot. Cleared it. Johnson was paying the price at the Columbus net. He was taking some abuse tonight. He was definitely earning his paycheck tonight, no doubt about that. So yeah, that was going on. Foligno had a break that rolled into the corner. So one of those break chances that just doesn't end up going in for him. And then Coleman scores from Gordon McDonough at 16:33. And then Tampa starts pouring it on. This is what Tampa does, right? Just pour it on for another. And they get it. Joseph from McDonough and Cirelli at 17:56. So 2-1 for Tampa out of nowhere. And then there was more Tampa pressure after this. So as we're going into the third, I thought, well, this could get ugly. It doesn't. Foligno scores in the first minute on the power play from Bjorkstrand and Atkinson at 47 seconds, and it's a 2-2 tie. Let's come back to the Dubois argument. You are now in a 2-2 tie. You've had Dubois stuck to the bench since the end of the first period. This is where you start giving him shifts. Because this is where you do it. This is where you go to him and you say, look, you wanna show that you're gonna get us the game-winning goal. You want to show you can make the big play. Let's go. Come on. Let's get this done, and then we can talk after the game. Nope, he still wasn't in the game. Tampa Bay was pressing for another lead. They end up with a power play. Korpisalo stopped a pretty good shot from Maroon during that power play. Things get kind of scrummy 7 minutes in. There's a power play then for the Blue Jackets. And Nick Foligno, who had a goal here, did not have an assist here, and it's too bad because he then had a fight with Luke Schenn. We end up with another Columbus power play. It is unsuccessful. So their power play does manage a goal tonight, but again, in spots where you might want to put Pierre-Luc Dubois, he wasn't out there. Overtime, good end-to-end action, but if you're going to open it up, and it's 3-on-3, so you kind of have to, Tampa Bay does have an advantage. And Braden Point from Hedman and Stamkos at 156. Tampa Bay wins this in Columbus 3-2. And again, the big topic of discussion, what are they going to do with Pierre-Luc Dubois? I did a video on Pierre-Luc Dubois not long ago. I feel like doing it again. I'd just be repeating a lot of the same things that I've talked about recently. But it's worthy of a look. He wants out. And the feeling must be mutual. Because in a game that they really kind of needed to win, I know it's early in the season, but they're now 1-2-2. Tampa Bay's 3-0. They're letting a team that has 2 games in hand on them get ahead of them. So that's a problem. The shots were 10 apiece in the first, 14-6 Tampa in the second, 11-7 Tampa in the third. Both teams had 2 shots in the overtime. Final shots 37-25 for Tampa. Tampa only had 1 power play. That's a storyline that goes back to last season. That checks out. Columbus was 1 for 4. Vasilevsky, 23 saves on 25 shots. Korpisalo, decent, 34 saves on 37 shots. He's the reason they came out of this with a point. Okay. Winnipeg. So Winnipeg Jets here. We got the Jets jersey and hat going on. The Jets end up with the game that well, it was pretty much a laugher, even though the score doesn't quite show that, but it kind of sort of was. And if you're Ottawa, this is kind of turning into last season again. So the Jets get an early power play. The Senators pressing 5 minutes in, and first half of that period, the Jets looked a lot like they did in the last game. They're allowing too many shots, too many opportunities for Ottawa. They were being outshot 6-3 pretty early on, but Ehlers scores from Kopp and Beaulieu at 11:50, and it was like a light went on for Winnipeg. They nearly made it 2-0 moments later. Nick Paul then had a tip, though, for Ottawa that ends up going wide. The shots were evened up at 7-7 with 5 minutes left. Like I said, it was 6-3 for Ottawa at one point, so the shots did even up. Tierney takes a penalty. The Jets get their second power play, and we go to the second period. The Jets pressed 3 minutes into that period. They would get a lot of power plays. They wouldn't score on them, though. Scheifele would score from Connor and Ehlers at 4:22, and then less than 3 minutes later, it's Lowry from Lewis and Forbert at 7:05. And what was interesting with this was Trevor Lewis makes a nice play, pings it right off the post. Lowry's following up, puts it in the net. And it's one of those plays where if you're a coach, probably drives you nuts, because the follow-up, Lowry should have probably been angled out by a defenseman and wasn't. So the guy trailing the play, and we saw this in the next game I'll get to too, which is Vancouver, that guy who's trailing the play, if you don't pick him up, that's the kind of thing that can happen. So that made it 3-0. The Jets pushed with 8 minutes left, clearly wanting to make sure that this was over. Hellebuck looked pretty darn good, and then Wheeler scores from Scheifele and Connor at 13:55. So Wheeler, again, before the season started, I saw posts like, well, I don't know why Wheeler would be on the first line. If you watch tonight's game, you know why Blake Wheeler's on the first line for the Winnipeg Jets, or should better understand it. Power play for the Jets after that, and this is where the frustration's really kicking in for Ottawa, and especially Brady Tkachuk. I don't know what happened in this game to tick Brady Tkachuk off, but this is right about where it was pretty obvious he was just angry. Another Jets power play after that. They ended up with 7 of those tonight. Third period, Hogberg started the third, so it felt more like a mercy pull for Murray. I can't put this on Murray. I just can't. Tkachuk got in a battle with Harkins, and this is where I was like, yeah, this is Tkachuk wants a fight. Tkachuk wants to really, just bring the emotion to this. He was not a happy camper. The Jets came out of that with a power play, because as the instigator of what was going on, Tkachuk got 4 minutes in that. Stepan had a shot that was stopped. A power play then for the Senators. Brown was unable to break the goose egg at that point, Connor Brown. Tkachuk really losing it in this one, but in the end, Ottawa did break the shutout. It is a shorthanded goal by Tierney from Zaitsev and Brown at 17:03. So not only does Winnipeg not score on the power play, they end up allowing a shorthanded goal. So they do win it 4-1. There's still some things to work on, but they have to feel pretty good about where they're at. Right now, Winnipeg is 3-1. For Ottawa, they're now 1-2-1. Remember, they started the season with a win, and there was a lot of assumptions that this is the year they can do this. I don't know. I'm starting to think that in Ottawa's case, this is probably another building year, but it's going to be fun to watch either way. Shots 11-10 Winnipeg 11-10 Ottawa in the first, 16-8 Winnipeg in the second, and then in the third, Winnipeg really let up. Ottawa outshoots them 10-3. Final shots, both teams had 29 shots. Power plays, Winnipeg 0 for 7, Ottawa 0 for 3. Hellebuck saved 28 out of 29. Murray saved 22 out of 26. And then in the third, Hogberg was only tested 3 times. So he may have been good. I don't know. We didn't find out. We didn't find out. That being said, I need to change words. I fully expect people to skip to this game because you're going to be like, Shannon's a Canucks fan. Can't wait to hear his reaction. The Habs were 8-0-2 in their last 10 versus Vancouver coming into this game tonight. Why would I write that at the top of the board? Kind of expected it. And the biggest thing was that last night they played sloppy defense and they got away with it. And they won that game right in the shootout. And the sloppy defense, it didn't take long for it to show up again. Now, Tyler Toffoli loves playing against Vancouver. He did when he was with the Kings too. Not to this extent. This is ridiculous. But he gets a goal from Armia at 1:54. Now, the Canucks did answer. Horvat from Myers and Höglander at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Höglander was given an assist on that in the third period. They added his. And I write right underneath here we go again. So I knew. Here we go again. Power play then for the Canucks. During that power play, it is a shorthanded marker. Yoel Armia from Toffoli at 5:27. Now, I love Yoel Armia. Longtime viewers of this channel will know I'm a big proponent for Yoel Armia. There's a lot of Montreal Canadiens I like. They all got on the board tonight. I am torn on that. But it made it 2-1. The Canucks get another power play, and this time they score on it. It's Horvat from Miller and Hughes at 7:13. I cannot say enough how well Horvat's playing and how much it's being wasted. And it's frustrating to watch. So Myers takes a penalty. Habs power play. Keep that name in mind. Virtanen and Sherratt then had a scrum there. It was 4-on-4. I honestly thought coming out of that, I thought Virtanen deserved the extra 2. He dropped his stick, and he was pretty shovey, pushy, and I thought, based on the extra 2 being given to Brady Tkachuk in the Ottawa game, I thought with Virtanen he deserved the extra 2 there as well. I thought the Canucks were lucky it was a 4-on-4. Petrie then had a shot off Toffoli, Toffoli pass that goes high, so Toffoli could have had an even bigger night than he did. Power play for the Habs, and then Edmondson with a late hit at the buzzer. It was kind of an ugly hit. There was no real point of it other than to give the Canucks a power play to start the second, but that worked out in Montreal's favor because it's a shorthanded goal, and it's Toffoli from Armia at 113. These guys have great chemistry, so the idea that, well, if Toffoli was still in Vancouver, he'd be putting up goals like this, I don't know that he would. He's got great chemistry with Armia. He's clearly happy in Montreal. I bear him no ill will. And here's the interesting thing. Usually in a game like this, I would come out hating the team that was playing against Vancouver. And traditionally with Montreal, it's not usually that difficult. But based on tonight's game, I can't hate Montreal for what happened tonight. No. Canucks take a penalty. We then get 17 seconds of 4-on-4. And then I put right here, and again, if you have a TV, you might be able to read it. You won't be able to on your phone. Turnovers invented in 1440. Googled it, looked it up. Perfected in 2021. What's that about? That's about the Canucks continually turning over the puck. They've perfected the turnover. 2021. Chatfield was out for the game. They announced that in the second period. So that was the thing. Keep that in mind, because of course Edler, Hamonic, it'll be fine. It's fine. It's great. The Habs get a power play. That was Myers' third penalty of the game thus far. He's not done. The shots 32 minutes into this game were 21-10 for Montreal. So while the score is 3-2, I went upstairs and I said to my wife, I said, I'm not going to be writing many notes at all because there's more goals coming. I knew there was more, and I said it's going to be Montreal. There were way too many opportunities for the Habs. Suzuki gets a breakaway. That was partly saved by Demko. The puck in midair, batted by Anderson. So that's one of those plays where, again, the trailer not picked up at all. So Anderson just puts it in the net. Suzuki and Drouin with the assists at 14:56. The Canucks don't wake up on the faceoff either. Right off the next faceoff, Byron to Evans, 15:05. 9 seconds later, Montreal's up by a lot. It's 5-2 at this point. And then Armia from Kotkaniemi at 16 minutes and 30 seconds. That's his second goal and his fourth point of the game. Yoel Armia tonight, career game for him. So it was 6-2 after 2, and that's the right score. I was live tweeting during this game, and I said, it's legit. It's legit. And based on, and really honestly, and I know there's people who want to come down on Demko, and I get it. Demko did not have a good game, but the defense in front of him didn't either. So there's plenty of blame to go around, and we have lots of time. Oh, we don't. They're playing against each other again on Saturday. Oh, wunderbar. So we go to the third period. Demko's still in the net, meaning that Holtby's playing on Saturday. Sutter would get a goal from Myers and Rafferty at 4:56. Byron then got hit with the puck. I don't think he stayed out, though. I know he ended up going to the room. I think he returned to the game. Then there's a scrum with 2:28 left, and why? Myers with a dirty hit on Armia. And it was a head hit. It was one of those, it's textbook. And the NHL tomorrow, because it was a 5 in a game, he's gone. I couldn't believe he sat on the bench. I'm like, why is Myers, he knows he's gone, right? He's aware of what he did. He saw it. Did he look at the replay? He's out. I would be stunned if the NHL tomorrow does not suspend him. And this is just, I can't describe how careless that is when you already know your team's short on defensemen. The game is done. You're down 6-3. You've got 2.5 minutes left. Take the L. You don't need to do that. You don't need to, head hit, head hunt. You don't need to do that on Yoel Armia. You don't need to do it on anybody. So, I mean, if it was Sherratt, it wouldn't have been any better. Although hitting Sherratt in the head's a little more difficult. It's a little more, I think he's a little bit taller than Armia. Not the point, of course. So Myers out of the game, and so you're leaving. We've already seen situations where Rafferty and Ulevi are being put in special team situations they really aren't NHL geared for. And then with that power play, well, Montreal scores on it, and you do. I mean, even if you're looking at the clock and going, well, we're ahead by 3, we don't need it. Well, when you see what the guy just did to Armia, you kind of want to stick it to them. So Gallagher is the best guy in Montreal to stick it to them if anybody's going to. From Sherratt and Petrie at 18:55, and Montreal wins at 7-3. But it's a devastating loss on numerous levels. You have to think Myers will not be available on Saturday, at the very least. Edler wasn't in the lineup, and Chatfield leaves during the game. This is a blue line that's absolutely decimated. And this is a situation that Vancouver, we could kind of see this coming, where, I kind of, I was optimistic that, hey, maybe they can eke out 4th place in the division, but it really depended on that blue line staying healthy. The blue line already looked a little bit thin, and yeah, we haven't had a Markstrom game yet, a game where they're getting outplayed badly and they win. We haven't had one of those yet. The shots favored Montreal the whole way, and rightfully so. 12-7 in the first period, 12-7 in the third period. In the second, they outshot Vancouver 18-3. So the final shot's 42-17 in Vancouver for Montreal. And it felt kind of like this loss was worse without fans in attendance, so you could really hear the complete and total deafening silence every time Montreal scored. Power plays, Montreal had 9, scored once. Vancouver had 5, scored once. Jake Allen had 14 saves on 17 shots. The kicker to me, Jake Allen didn't look that great. If the Canucks had generated more shots, more opportunities, the score would have been closer. I think Allen was vulnerable tonight. They just didn't take enough shots, especially in the second period. Demko saves 35 out of 42. And again, if you want to throw this on Demko, okay. But based on all the shorthanded breakaways and the 2-on-1s and the 3-on-2s that are being allowed, there's plenty of blame to go around in Vancouver right now. So, yeah. All right. Last game of the night. This was a great game. So, I needed a palate cleanser. After this disastrousness here. Disastrousness is a word. So, Vancouver's 2-4. Montreal's 3-0-2. Vancouver's officially in trouble. They're over 10% into the season now. There's 50 games left for them, and it's, yeah. Now, Colorado going into LA, this looked like it was going to be a carbon copy of the last game, where Colorado was just better. They're just the better team. But something switched in this game. So, Miska was getting the start, and I know there may be some who think that that's why the result turns out the way it did. I didn't think Miska was the problem. Byram takes a penalty. Kings get an early power play. Post for the Kings, but they ended up with one shot on that power play. And then Rantanen scores from McKinnon at 4:49. And this was the 4th straight game that LA's allowed the first goal. When you're chasing the game, it is definitely a massive problem. Lizotte then hits the post. The Avs get a power play. Almost exactly 2 minutes after that, the Kings then got a power play as well. The Avalanche pressed with 5 minutes left. Kadri with a beautiful tipped shot in front, and Quick just flat out robbed him with the glove. One of the best saves I've seen all season. These guys look pretty good to that stage of the game. The Avalanche get a power play late. They score on it. It's McKinnon on the power play from Makar and Rantanen at 19:15. So McKinnon with 2 points in the first. It's 2-0 Colorado after 1. And I'm already thinking, well, this is done. Especially when early in the second, 15 seconds in, Quick has to be a magician again, robbing McKinnon. So McKinnon was playing great to that stage of the game, and it looked like Colorado was going to blow them out of the building, which happens. For LA, it's something that has happened. Now the Kings would get a power play. They then get a minute and 22 seconds of 5-on-3. But there was a nice 2-pad stack by Miska while they were down 2 men. So he did play well, but eventually one of them goes in. It's Doughty from Kopitar and Carter at 3:35. I've mentioned in other reviews, Jeff Carter looks the best he's looked in years right now. This is the best he's looked for skating, for shooting. Just the time off has been great for him. And then not long after that, the Avs get a power play. Miska would stop a tying effort with 4 minutes left, But then on a Kings power play, it's Gabriel Vilardi. That's his second of the year. From Walker and Athanasiou at 1750. And for people who've been a fan of the channel long enough, Pettersson has no goals. Vilardi has 2. There you go. So that's, as I said, his second. And the momentum was really with the Kings at that point. Third period, Vilardi tried a 1 versus 4. That's a no. Where he was coming out from behind the net. There's 4 white sweaters, and he's kind of like, I'll go through them. It doesn't work. I don't recommend it. I admire the confidence, the je ne sais quoi that he showed in that moment, but probably not the best plan if you actually want to have success. Big hit then by Grundstrom. The Kings are in total charge of the game at this point. The Avs got a power play, no shots. So this wasn't to me a case of the goaltending failing the Avs. They just weren't as good as the Kings once the Kings started getting some momentum here. I thought it was the Kings' best game of the season. I don't know that it's necessarily close. The announcers are very excited about the Kings wearing the retro reverse jerseys over the next week, and both announcers saying they're going to be that they are the best Kings jerseys ever. Hey, I'll be the judge of that, but they're close. I will admit they're close. Kempe scores from Kopitar and Iafallo at 16:04. And the Kings are up 3-2. This is a game they're down 2-0 after 1 period, and it really looked like they were done. And they came back and got the lead. Goalie pull with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. They then called the timeout with 2:07 left. The Kings did. There was a post for Landeskog. He'll see that in his sleep tonight. And Lizotte would add the empty netter at 19:18. So if Landeskog puts that in the net rather than hitting the post, we're having a completely different conversation. But it didn't happen. The Kings win at 4-2. Their record's 1-1-2, and for Colorado, they're 2-2 now. So Colorado probably kicking themselves tonight that they didn't take both games in LA. And for the Kings, well, they're in it. They're in it. They have 4 points, the same number of points as Colorado. Keep going. So the shots, 12-7 in favor of Colorado in the first, 12-10 LA in the second, and then 8-4 LA in the third as they took over. Final shots, 27-26 for the Kings. Power play, 1 for 4 for Colorado in the game, and LA 2 for 5. So again, I'm very grateful that I saw a nice upset victory, a comeback victory for the Kings, which kind of took some of this out of my mind over here. This was good. Miska saved 23 out of 26. Jonathan Quick saved 24 out of 26. He was very good tonight. And yeah, Kings are in this. If they'd been able to hold the lead in one of those games against Minnesota, right? If just those leads, if they'd been able to hold those leads, or one of them, they'd be 2-1-1 right now. But they're a young team, they're figuring it out, and it's exciting. Kings games are fun to watch. If you're looking for a team to watch, you're like, I don't know, I have this team I cheer for. What other team would Shannon recommend I watch right now? It'd be the Kings. I would recommend the Kings right now. Because again, they're fun. They might lose, they might win, but they're unpredictable all throughout the game, and they're fun to watch. Probably not as much if you're a Kings fan, but let me know if you're a Kings fan, if they're fun to watch for you right now, or how you feel about that. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.